Hello world, what is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host Matt Forte and we are here live at the Build studio in New York City. I am so excited our next guest is back. He's a television host, media personality, author, blogger, and naturalist with the National Wildlife Federation. For as long as he can remember, he's been fascinated by our natural world, and he's here to share that wonder with the rest of us. Ladies and gentlemen, please make an appropriate amount of noise and welcome back to the show the great David Mizejewski. Perfect.
What's up?
How you doing, David?
I'm hanging in there. I'm excited to be back.
Oh, I'm so excited you're here. Real quick, just for our audience at home, the enthusiasm level you're hearing is out of respect for our furry friends. Everyone here is thoroughly enjoying the fact that you're back with us, David. We're so excited
I'm actually
you're here.
perfectly happy if the applause is low, because this is all about the animals. We want to keep them happy and comfortable, and too much noise can make it freak them out a little bit. So.
Also, like, on a personal level, it just sets the bar at the right level. You know, low expectations, that way you can over-deliver. It's an old sales trick, is what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
David, it's so awesome to have you back. How have you been, man? What have you been up to? What's life like for David now?
I've been great. You know, I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah.
I'm working for the National Wildlife Federation, getting the word out about how important wildlife conservation is, and hopefully inspiring people to want to join our mission and our cause to protect wildlife with all of my media appearances. So.
For sure, man. Nobody works harder than you when it comes to this world. I've interviewed a lot of people from the world of conservation, and like you're always on. In fact, I wanted to thank you publicly. I have a screenshot of something earlier in the summer. If we can go to that really quick, I had come across one of the most frightening things I'd ever seen in my entire life, and I thought right away after run was I got to tweet David. I got to see what he says. And I asked you about that. And this is all I sent you, was this photo. And you came back, you identified for me, accurately mind you, after we had somebody come in and take a look at it, you identified the species of bee, and you told me exactly what to do. It was incredible. So first of all, thank you.
Anytime.
And second of all, how annoying is it when people do this to you? I'm sorry.
Okay, I wasn't going to say it, but no, I'm actually more than happy to field any wildlife ID questions and offer advice. My family knows this well because like they're constantly texting and calling me with just this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can help people understand the natural world, I mean, that to me is what social media is for, right?
Yeah,
so
100%.
Now I'm probably going to regret that when I leave here, and I'm going to have 1,000, what is this? You know?
What is this?
I will say this, if it's really helpful, if people do need help with identification or advice like this, for me to know a little bit of information, like where the photo was taken, what you think it is. A lot of times I get like a blurry blob, and it's like, what's this? And I'm like, I can't help you. You know,
I'm not a magician.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's actually a bald-faced hornet, not a bee.
Sorry.
Separate group of insects.
This is why you're
They're
here.
related, you know. But you know what's interesting? In my neighborhood in Washington D.C., we actually had 3 of these just randomly in street trees. And I don't know what was up with them this year. They had a population boom or something, but...
I gotta tell you, I don't have another photo of this, but also, unbeknownst to us, at that same house on the television antenna on top, because we have an old school antenna up there, they found another one about that size.
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Now, you know, while we're on this, I just want to throw a little bit of love towards wasps and hornets. Yes, these animals can sting us, but if you follow the golden rule, and the golden rule is if you never try to, you know, pick up, touch, pet, or harass a wild animal, your chances of being bitten, stung, you know, envenomated, or killed by the animal almost is 0. So as long as you leave these guys alone and don't go close to them, they're not going to hurt you. And they're actually important predators. They actually keep true pest insects under control.
I was reading that in the very informative link that you had sent along with your tweets.
I'm trying to see what I wrote here.
Yeah, no, you wrote some good stuff. It was great. You told me exactly, bald-faced hornet's nest, you had it right away, 10 to 12 feet from where you walk, that could be a danger zone. And sadly, both of them were right where people were at all times. We had to do something about it.
And that's okay to do. I mean, obviously, I actually had an encounter with yellow jackets in my own yard, which is a National Wildlife Federation certified wildlife habitat garden, which everybody out there can do, by the way. It's super easy to do, but you know, I didn't want to go out there and start spraying pesticides. I had these yellow jackets, and the beginning of the summer, everything was fine, and then they got me, and a week later they got me twice again, and then my arm like got totally swollen, so now I have to carry an EpiPen. So yes, even I had to then nuke those.
You have to do something about it at some point. Let's go back a second. How does anybody get their garden what do you mean anyone can do that?
Anyone can do it. If you can plant something, whether you have a big suburban yard or you're even a rural property or you're in the middle of a city and you have some containers, if you plant things that provide basic elements of habitat for wildlife, food, cover, and host plants for butterfly caterpillars and a water source, you will qualify to have that garden space become a certified wildlife habitat with the National Wildlife Federation. So, it's just our way of thanking people for doing something good for wildlife. So many wildlife species can coexist with us, in our cities, in our towns, in our neighborhoods, in our yards. Birds and butterflies, like the monarch butterfly.
Well, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, so this is, the monarch butterfly used to be super common. In the last 20 years or so, their population has plummeted by almost 90%. And one of the big reasons for that is what I was just saying. Their caterpillar host plant is being eliminated. Monarch butterflies can only lay their eggs on milkweed. And there's a bunch of different milkweeds that are native across North America. A lot of them are found in kind of like the middle part of the country where agriculture is huge. And due to a variety of reasons, we're getting better at eliminating the milkweed. Same time, everybody in our yards, we're becoming more obsessed with having that pristine lawn, spraying pesticides everywhere. And as a result, these once common iconic butterflies, they've nosedived. And the cool thing about the monarch, the plight of the monarch, if you could say there's any cool thing about it, is that this is an opportunity for individuals in their own personal space, their own little piece of the earth, their backyards or their gardens, can actually do something to save a species and prevent it from getting to the point where it's going to be an endangered species. I can't save a polar bear in my backyard, but I can save monarch butterflies in my backyard.
Well, first of all, I want to go back to that polar bear thing in a second, because you could do anything, David. but over 20 years, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So this really is one of those things. Often we look back and think, oh, I was just a kid. But I often think, I feel like I used to see a lot more butterflies were a bigger thing when I was a kid, and they were more abundant, and there were more of them around. One, that's sad and scary. Two, so you talked about is this at all linked to the similar decrease in bee population, the honeybee population? Are they together, or is it just two separate but equally important issues?
Yeah, I mean, it's all related in that these are all things that are happening because of what we human beings are doing. With the honeybee, you're talking about colony collapse disorder.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that kind of build up that can contribute to why that's happening. Most people don't know that honeybees aren't really a wild species. They're really a domesticated species, kind of like a cow. And so their plight is really an agricultural issue because they provide pollination services and honey and things like that. At the same time, we've got 4,000 wild native bee species here in North America, many of which we have no clue what their populations are because they're just not being studied. Some of them we know are plummeting, like the rusty-patched bumblebee, first North American bee species to be listed as endangered. Used to be super common, just like the monarch butterfly, but again, because of habitat destruction, people spraying pesticides, too many lawns, getting rid of native plants, paving everything over, big agriculture spraying pesticides everywhere. These things, I mean, it's simple math. If you have wildlife needs habitat. If you take away the habitat, the wildlife goes away. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, there's a lot of things that we, again, as individual citizens, can do to help species like the bees, like the butterflies, migratory songbirds, local amphibian populations. Amphibians are the group of wildlife that is disappearing faster than any other.
Really?
Group. I think a full third of amphibian species are imperiled with extinction right now. Stop putting chemicals on your lawn, have a little frog pond in your backyard, work locally to protect your local wetlands, and we can turn the tide, at least locally, for some of these amphibian species.
That's pretty, I had no idea the amphibians were under crisis as well.
It's a big problem. I could keep going on with the bad news.
No, I know, well, but you kind of have to right now, right? Yeah. Like, of course, we're going to have a lot of fun. The second half of the segment's going to be all kinds of hugs and cuddles, but these are real things that are going on. It's important that you get to talk about these things. I enjoy talking about things. I like being informed. To that end, when you talk about the things that we can do, we can build little frog ponds. We can have a certified garden and all that sort of stuff. How much of your mission lately has become motivating people not only to do that, but to call your local representatives and get involved politically? I feel like that's become more of it now too, because the backyard things we can do, but we also have to do large scale things.
100%. Yeah. I mean, personal actions are important and we should all be doing them. But in order for them to have impact, we need hundreds of millions of people doing them.
Yeah.
And in some cases we are. But the fact of the matter is the biggest way that we can have an impact on protecting wildlife and making sure we have a healthy planet for all of us to live on is at the top level, policy change, making sure we have strong environmental laws, making sure we have strong wildlife protection laws, so that we kind of institutionalize conservation instead of leaving it up to people just deciding today, oh, I'm going to do this or that. And the National Wildlife Federation works on both ends of that spectrum.
Yeah.
So we have, we do a lot of work in Washington, D.C., where I'm based, and that's what we're doing behind the scenes. We're not out there necessarily, shouting from the rooftops and trying to take credit for all this, but my colleagues are out there every day, doing the political thing in D.C., trying to move some of the good things forward and fight the bad things that are going to hurt wildlife. At the same time, we're all about introducing the next generation of kids out there to wildlife. We publish Ranger Rick magazine. We also are publishing zoo books magazines. I grew up reading these things.
Wait a second, you guys are zoo books too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, do everybody else remember zoo books? I see a bunch of nods.
Yeah.
I loved zoo books.
Yeah.
The commercial for I had no idea.
Yeah. So that's
zoo books.
That's. For folks, if you're not familiar with the National Wildlife Federation, we're America's conservation organization. We focus here in North America. We do some international work as well, but and again, we do all of the the hard policy-oriented work that's necessary, but we also really want to engage people. We're about people as well, in particular kids, and making sure that we're kind of creating the next generation of people who actually care about wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was reading, and thank you for that, because I was looking at the NWF website, and I was surprised that even today there's stuff going on. This very moment, there was something at 2 o'clock about people trying to modify the Endangered Species Act and all this sort of. And I was fascinated that I was completely ignorant to all of this until I went to the site and started getting informed. So I was curious because I know the fun side of your job. I was curious about what the other side of that job is like, and it sounds like you guys are really out there hitting the pavement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest, I have a degree in political science and ecology because I originally thought I was going to, get involved on the advocacy side of things. And, as sometimes happens as we are learning and growing and figuring out what we want to do in our career, I realized fairly early on that I honestly was just not particularly well suited to that branch of conservation, which is critically important.
Yeah.
But I got really lucky after having a panic attack about wasting hundreds of thousands of my parents' money on this.
As everyone who went to college has had.
My first job out of school was as a summer camp naturalist at a nature center, and the very first thing that I learned was how to handle wildlife and present them to the public to inspire people and share all of this geeky knowledge that I have about animals and nature and come at it from the other way. And that's why, at the National Wildlife Federation, it's such a perfect fit for me because we do both of those things.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky, as you said, that I get to focus on some of the more positive things, but all the other work is critically important. And I will say this too, we cannot do our work to protect wildlife without everybody getting involved. And there's so many ways to get involved. You mentioned getting involved on the advocacy side, calling your representatives, voting for sure. If that's your inclination, we have ways that you can hook up with us to do that. Not everybody's into that, and some people want to make a difference on that local level. That's where we get into our Garden for Wildlife program, the certified habitats. Following us on social media. Sharing our messages with your network is a powerful way that people can get involved at a very simple, very easy, very basic level. And hopefully, folks will want to join us and become members and fund our work so that we can continue fighting for wildlife.
There's also a lot of great stuff, too, if you want something really immediate, especially after some of the little characters we're going to meet today on the NWF site. You can adopt, what's the word that's not?
Symbolically adopt.
Symbolically adopt. Yeah, you can symbolically adopt. And there's a lot of great stuff you get when you symbolically adopt.
Totally. I mean,
it's a really fun
if you are
thing to
into stuffed animals, as a little thank you, if you want to symbolically adopt any one of a few dozen wildlife species, you can do that, and you can opt, and we'll send you a little plush animal, and then you can have that as a reminder that you're again doing something really important, and that's making a financial contribution to a conservation organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you get a cool little plush.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue into the second half of this, talking about how when you found this was something you were really good at, really comfortable at. Let's get into it, man. We've got some friends with us today.
That's right.
I don't know the order they're going to come out in. I think you at least know the first one.
I know the first one.
So do you want to set it up, or you want to bring it right on out?
Yeah, let's bring it on out. This is one of my favorite kinds of animals.
Oh, sweet Mary. All right.
Do you want to help me hang on to this guy?
Should I come over there?
Yeah, you can.
You want me to just?
Yeah, you can just do that.
Oh, okay.
And we had a little bit of a step problem over there, but I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, so you obviously know that this is a snake. Do you know?
David, it's looking at me.
Well, if you were another snake, you would actually be in trouble.
Okay.
This is a king snake. And king snakes get their name in part because one of the foods that they like to eat are other snakes.
Fair
so
enough.
this is a species of snake that actually can take on rattlesnakes
No.
and is happy to chow on them. And like most snakes, they don't chew their food. They open their jaw and they just kind of swallow and use that muscle action
Unreal,
to
the
shimmy it
power.
down. Yeah, and so that's partly why I wanted you to hold it because number one, tell me, is this a slimy animal?
No, it's not. But David, what's happening with my left hand? It is coiled around me.
It's just hanging on.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. So most people think snakes are slimy, right?
No, he's not slimy at all.
Not at all. It's actually very smooth, dry, leather-like. And so I just wanted to dispel that myth there.
Got it.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are terrified of snakes, right?
Yeah,
Well,
no, I'm good.
You're very brave. I'm
Thanks,
I'm proud of you. You want to
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
It's getting tighter. I'm learning. I'm pushing through.
Yeah.
This is how you learn. Go on.
Almost 100% of snakes are 100% harmless to people.
Okay.
Right?
The
So-
almost is concerning.
Well, right. This one is not one that is venomous or anything like
Okay,
that.
okay.
So, but I say that because this is a group of animals that is severely maligned. I'm sure we've all heard the only good snake is a dead snake, right? That's just flat out ignorance.
Yeah.
These are important animals. They're important predators of other snakes, of rodents. Even insects. Some snakes feed on insects. There's some new research out, and in fact, there's a story on it in the latest issue of National Wildlife Magazine on a surprising role that snakes play. Snakes that eat rodents actually, we're finding out, are really important as distributors of plant seeds. Because rodents, many species eat plants and seeds, and when the snake eats the rodent, all of that goes through the snake's digestive tract, and the snake actually can help disperse the seeds of plants and actually contribute to the healthy plant community.
That's crazy,
that
man.
all other wildlife species rely on. So I just want to give a shout out for how cool snakes are. And I mean, number one, it's beautiful, it's beneficial.
Absolutely.
If a snake encounters a human being in the wild, it is afraid of you. It is going to try to hide from you. It's going to rely on its camouflage. If you get too close, it's going to give you a warning.
Yeah.
It's going to rattle its tail. It's going to hiss, right? These are not animals that want to come after you or hurt you. So again, if you follow the golden rule that I mentioned before, if you encounter a snake in the wild, people always ask me this, what should I do? And I say, smile. It's pretty awesome. Take a step back. Don't get close to it. Don't try to take a selfie with it.
Yeah.
Right? But count it as a really awesome wildlife encounter. And it's a really good thing if snakes are around. It shows that the ecosystem is healthy.
Well, I certainly feel a little bit better after all of that. And through holding, does this snake have a name, or is it just?
You know, I don't know what the
Do we
snake's
know
name
if the
is.
snake has a name?
Fred.
Fred? Did you just make that up? All right, so
Fred
Freddy,
the king snake.
Fred the king snake, though.
Fred now, yeah.
Yeah, there are certain things that I would only experience if it wasn't for like the amount of power just in how it's moving around and coiling around. It is a beautiful animal, and it really is a lot less scary when I've had a moment to kind of adjust and get out of my own head about it.
Yeah.
It was really nice to meet Fred. Tell me there's something else.
Yes, we do have some cute furry animals. So let's bring out our next animal here.
Want to say bye to Fred?
This is also one of my favorite species.
Oh, look at this little buddy.
So this is.
David, can I join you on the couch? Can I? Come over for
Is
this?
that okay?
Is that safe? Is that?
Yeah. No. Put the possum here.
Okay.
I'm gonna come on over.
Whoop whoop. All right.
Oh, I see. We have a banana. You know what, David? I'm gonna stay in the chair, if you don't mind.
All right. You got her, Jamie.
Yep.
I'm just gonna.
So this is.
So talk to me about what's going on here, David, because what's happening here is. Oh boy! Look at that. Who's Fred's little buddy?
All right, this is a Virginia opossum, and this is actually a really great example of why you should not approach wildlife. Now, this is an orphan.
Me specifically, or people in general?
People in general.
Got it.
This is an orphaned animal that
baby.
my friend Jamie here is,
I hated the rug anyway. Don't worry.
has
Go on.
hand-raised, right? But even a hand-raised animal, wild animal, it's still a wild animal.
Still a wild
None
animal.
of these animals are pets. And so these are animals that would die if they were left out in the wild. So Jamie and Grant here are, tasked with taking care of it. And so, again, even a hand-raised animal, when she got a little bit spooked there in that handoff, and that can happen. So luckily, she didn't get me, and we're all good.
I mean, I could not blame her more. Think of, first of all, an orphaned animal in a completely alien environment.
Yeah.
Naturally, she got a little spooked.
Right.
Still a beautiful creature.
Right, and so I do want to just give a little love. I know you're all terrified of possums now, but possums also really cool animals. Some new research is showing that they can actually help control tick populations. Ooh. So a possum in one sort of spring-summer season can consume up to 5,000 ticks, taking them out of the ecosystem.
Wow.
That's a huge benefit. And it's because even though they look kind of gross and dirty, they're very fastidious. They groom themselves, and when they get ticks on them, they just consume them. They're much cleaner animals than, say, like a raccoon or a skunk or something like that. They also they eat venomous snakes, so if you don't like the snakes, having possums around is actually kind of a good thing. So they're not rodents. So again, I implore everybody out there, if you see a possum, it's a good thing. Give it a little bit of love. Don't try to touch it because they have a lot of teeth in their mouth.
They have a lot of teeth.
So, all right, let's bring
All right, what's up next?
Right, now everyone's gonna love this guy, and I think you're all gonna know what it is. And we're gonna let him. You want me to?
I'm gonna let him here.
All right. You want me to hang on to him?
I'm gonna let you come right.
So all of these animals are very clingy.
There you go.
All right.
Just give him treats.
There we go.
On a scale of 1 to 10, should I or should I not come over to the couch?
You probably shouldn't, because even though this is a two-toed sloth, everyone, in case you
Look at him
didn't
go.
know. Even an animal like this, I was telling you backstage, sloths are herbivores. Sometimes they'll eat insects and things like that, but they do have very sharp front teeth.
Yes.
And so again, even though this guy is hand-raised, he's still a wild animal. He's not domesticated, and so they still have their natural instinct to kind of use those teeth if they get a little bit spooked, and that's why we're just kind of letting him sit here and do his thing, right? So. You didn't like that. Let me see if
what else you got in the bag, David? He is not thrilled.
What did I give him? I gave him a little zucchini. Well, let's see if he takes it.
He's going to try it again, but he doesn't know he has options.
I'm going to give him a grape here.
Give him a grape. What's his name?
Because a grape.
What do you got on this one?
This is
Artemis?
Yes.
That one he didn't make up.
No, that's actually really his name. So a two-toed sloth. There are two-toed sloths. There's three-toed sloths. It's talking about the number of claws on the front foot.
What
if you could see
that?
the back foot actually has 3. But these guys live.
So he's a 5-toed then.
Well, it goes by the front feet, so 2. But they live down in the tropical forests of Central and South America.
Quick, he's getting away.
Actually, I mean, he's cool to just wander. We're gonna look. You could. This is actually. Wait, I'm glad he's doing this. Okay.
Me too.
These are animals that are adapted for life in the trees, right?
Okay.
So they typically are hanging upside down. We've all seen photos and
Does
video
the
of
banana
them.
pose any threat?
No, he's actually going to go and try to eat the banana, I think.
Fantastic.
And,
Let him have at it.
And so they're not adapted to really move well on the ground.
Poor
and you can
things.
see how awkward, right?
Yeah,
It's
super
kind of like, so they almost never come down from the trees. They want to live in a forested environment where they can go from branch to branch.
Yeah.
They do actually come down to the ground once a week to go to the bathroom. Now, they have incredibly slow metabolisms. They're eating fairly low nutrient foods. Again, a lot of the plant material that they're eating isn't nutrient dense, right?
Yeah.
So they eat a lot of it, and they have a slow metabolism, and once a week they have to poop, and they'll come down.
Once a week.
And they'll poop at the bottom of the tree, which actually helps then fertilize the tree.
Fair enough.
So it's a nice little ecosystem symbiosis. But, sloths are weird animals. I mean, just look at it, right? I mean, if you think about how it has evolved to hang upside down, even its internal organs are positioned differently than an animal that is terrestrial.
Right.
Because it's, evolved to hang upside down. So the organs are all separated. Just really weird, crazy animals that remind me of how amazing the animal life on this planet is. I mean, if you can think it up,
sure.
there's an animal that it's evolved to sort
Over
of
years.
to do it. We think about science fiction and all the creatures from Star Wars, and I'm a big geek with that too. But I also, again, when I see an animal like a sloth here, it's a reminder that we don't even need to make things up.
They're here.
They're here,
Yeah.
living, breathing, bizarre, strange animals.
You said once a week?
Yeah, only once a week.
Is that pretty regular, or is there, like, are we?
Bumps.
Well, does it typically happen on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Like, what time, are we in danger right now?
No,
Are
we're not in danger. So so you see, he's already kind of orienting the other way, upside down.
My goodness.
But it doesn't get cuter, right?
No, it doesn't. It
but
doesn't.
again-
He's look at his little face.
Not a pet.
Oh, my God, Artie.
Like I've been saying, let's see if he'll take a
it's
grape
up.
over here.
Yeah, he'll. Oh, you. So you want the grape? Bring it closer. Bring it closer. He's letting you know. Yeah.
There we go.
Good. Oh, Artie.
See, he's not hanging on. So we're just gonna let him hang there.
No, I mean, he's getting into the microfibers on the couch, man. He's digging it. He's comfy, is what he is.
Well, you know,
he's lounging like an old-timey, like an emperor.
If he
Look at
actually
him.
lived in the wild, his fur might take on the same color as this.
No.
Because they are so slow-moving, and they live in these humid tropical forests that algae actually grows in their fur, and it actually provides a little bit of camouflage for them when they're up in the treetops. Because unfortunately, as cute as this guy is, he is on the menu for certain other
My kingdom for a grape.
certain other wildlife species.
Oh my God.
No, you don't want that? There we go.
Thank you.
There.
Can somebody want to come up here and fan him? Can we? Like a giant palm leaf or
There we
something,
go.
perhaps?
Well, you know, look, you can see how dexterous those claws are too. He's actually
Oh my God,
able
it's out
to
of
hold
control,
on,
yeah.
hold on to that grape and take a bite. He kind of rejected it at first because it wasn't cut in half for him.
Yeah.
And so he was like looking
Yeah.
for, and so I made him do a little bit of work there. But yeah, unfortunately, these guys are in nature, so they're prey items for things like jaguars or harpy eagles. So that algae that grows in their fur
Helps
gives
them
them a
blend
little
in,
bit of
gives them
added
camouflage.
camouflage. And also, again, just they're slow moving and the fact that they don't come down to the ground. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Unbelievable.
We've got a few more really cool animals that I want to get to.
For sure.
So,
I was going to say we could hang out with Artemis all day,
all right.
but
Why don't
we've
we
got to
bring
say
out?
goodbye, a slow and tearful goodbye. Bye, Artemis. Oh, goodness gracious. Now, this one I'm fairly certain I can come sit with you for. Is
Yeah.
that-
Why don't you come on over here and you can
Here we
meet
go.
little
All
Nellie.
right.
This is Nellie the kangaroo.
Nellie, what is up?
Now you'll notice she's in a bag
She certainly is.
and.
It's a pouch, David.
It's a pouch simulation, right? So she is a kangaroo, and kangaroos are marsupials.
Yeah.
A possum was a marsupial too. So both of those animals were born basically as almost embryos.
Yes.
Little tiny, very underdeveloped, fetuses almost, right? So they had no fur. They didn't have back legs. They really didn't have any eyes yet. They were just these little bean-shaped things. And with marsupials, which are mammals, they don't have placentas. So for placental mammals, dogs, cats, humans, right? We grow inside of our mother for 9 months, and we get our nutrients from the placenta. Well, marsupials don't have that, so they kind of develop externally. They're born again very premature, and through scent, they find their way into the mother's pouch, and they attach themselves to the nipple in there, and then they spend another X number of months, depending on the species, growing and developing. And so she's about 6 months old.
6 months.
And that's about the time when they start to kind of want to explore outside of the pouch.
So I was going to ask if that how do you get
So, well,
Nellie into the outside world here?
well, you kind of just do it slowly, right?
Yeah.
And she's not really quite, comfortable out in the real world. She likes to be in the pouch, but you could see she's poking her head out and
Yeah.
she's exploring. But, for a baby kangaroo, they're perfectly happy to just kind of sit and observe for a
Look at
while.
her little claws.
Yeah, when she gets a little bit older, she'll be able to hop around and
Yeah.
and explore and that kind of thing. But she'll still always want to go back into the pouch, right,
Always
sweetie?
going to want to be in the pouch. She's giving you kangaroo
Yes, I know.
kisses?
I mean, it doesn't get cuter than this, does it?
Oh my
Hi, sweetie.
gosh.
What do you smell?
Oh, goodness.
So-
may I?
Yes, you can pet her. Yeah, she's So yeah, I mean, kangaroos, they're
Nellie, we good?
their mouths are filled with fangs. No, they're not. They're herbivores. They're grazers. I think everybody knows they live in Australia.
Yeah.
And they kind of fill the same ecological niche that in other parts of the world deer do.
I was talking about this downstairs.
Yeah.
My buddy Brad works on the show, executive producer here. He was saying he's been to Australia. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And as he was describing them, I was like, oh my gosh, they sound like
Yeah.
a much cooler version of deer.
Well, if you think about, Australia is very far away from other land masses, and it's essentially a giant island, right? And in
Yeah.
island ecosystems, oftentimes you get very unique animals that evolve because they don't have the predators that are present on the mainland, or there's a resource on that island. And so, that's why the life in Australia is so very different than many other parts of the world, because they evolved in isolation. But the cool thing is that this sort of idea of convergent evolution, where animals, and I'm getting all sciencey here on you, but
no, it's fine.
Where species,
I'm focusing.
completely unrelated species in completely different parts of the world, evolve to take advantage of the same kind of resources. So, even if you look at her face, there's something slightly deer-like about it,
There's something deer-esque, yes.
And so, but yeah, they're herbivores, they're grazers, and there are no deer in Australia, not native anyway, and so it's just taking advantage of resources. What do you got going on back there?
She's got your little bungee over here.
She's just kind of getting curious and exploring. So yeah, I mean, in the wild, she'd live in a family group.
Yeah.
Of she's coming out. Can I put her on the ground?
I was going to say, what would happen?
No, okay.
No.
Yeah,
we
don't
never
wanna,
see her again.
All right, let me. Yeah. All right, Mom, help me. We got her in here.
Tuck her in a little bit.
There we go. Let's just get her in there, yeah.
No, she's just in the back.
Yeah, I'll hang on to her for another second. We'll see if she pokes her head out again.
Is this this is a custom designed?
Yeah, there we go.
Pouch
there we go.
Bag situation. This is like made for this purpose.
No, it's not made for this purpose, but it works nicely for this purpose. Yeah. So again, she's comfortable being in the pouch. She
loves it.
Again, she's old enough. She just got a little bit curious and wanted to come out. But there's a lip here for if you couldn't tell. We don't want her.
Yeah,
to
we don't want her to fall off the edge of the stage.
And now she's like, I'm done.
Yeah, I get that. We denied her the one thing she requested. We were feeding Artie grapes for days, and here Nellie can't jump out. We have a few more left.
Yeah,
right?
I want to get to our next couple of animals.
Yeah,
and this one you can stay on the sofa for as well. I'm gonna pass little Nellie off. Since you did so well before.
Yes.
We're gonna bring out another.
Oh Jesus! Is it larger? Somebody tell me if it's larger.
Well, it's a little bit thicker of a snake. The king snake is a fairly thin, skinny snake. This is a rainbow boa. Now, this snake will actually get larger.
What the hell, man?
This will get larger than the king snake. But
All right.
this is another South American species, not venomous.
Okay, that helps.
Again,
looking right at me, though.
If this was a venomous snake, I would not be handling it. But these guys are beautiful. Look at the color on this. Look at
Without
the pattern.
question.
Yeah?
Yes.
And they actually come in a variety of colors, wide variation, but that's why they're called rainbow boas, because they can have lots of different colors and it's a sheen. You can touch it, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna...
And so this species is a constrictor.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And they use this muscular body to overwhelm prey like birds and rodents. And
wow.
We used to think that constrictors, you're getting a feel for it. He's just trying to feel
just
secure.
On?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
He wants to have his body supported. So.
Okay.
But yeah, so we used to think that they strangle their prey through constriction.
I can believe that.
Right. But really, what happens is it's a little bit more gruesome, but also maybe slightly more humane. What happens is they are so strong that they exert such pressure as they're constricting around their prey that it actually causes organ failure.
No.
Yeah. So it's kind of like after a few seconds, your organs just shut down and you die. Not you. You're going to be fine. He's
going to ask if he tends to start with the wrist by chance.
Now, if you were something like the size of a mouse or a rat, you'd be in trouble. But yeah, at any rate, so I think it's a little bit more maybe humane because you go faster that way versus suffocating, which is not really a pleasant way to go.
Unreal.
It takes a lot longer, I guess. So yeah, I mean, again, a beautiful, beautiful animal. Oh, one other myth I like to dispel about snakes that we all learn in, when we're kids in kindergarten is that snake, its tongue, it's gonna sting you or it's gonna, bite you and give you venom through it. No, not at all. Do you know what the snake's tongue is doing?
I was gonna say, doesn't it smell through its tongue?
Yes. Exactly.
I thought you were about to tell me that was the myth, and I was like, that's all I ever knew, was that they smell through their tongue and I should stay away.
No, see, your information is accurate. Yeah. So whoever told you that, they did you a service. Yeah. So the
Westchester public school system right there for you, everybody. That's what that is.
The tongue is not dangerous. It's simply a way that the snake is gathering information about its environment. So, if you think about it, if you touch your tongue to the roof of your mouth, right, what's in your head right above the roof of your mouth?
Nose.
Right. So your sense of taste in human beings and scent are actually really closely related. Well, it's the same thing. So the snake is flicking its tongue out, and it's gathering little scent particles out of the air. And when it pulls the tongue back in, of course, they never want to face the camera. Let me do this. I want everybody to see the beautiful face on this animal. So when they pull their tongue back in their mouth, all of those scent particles brush against the roof of the mouth where there's a scent organ there. And so that's all it's doing. It's just trying to explore its environment and figure out what's going on. Is there danger out there? Is there food out there? So yeah, beautiful, beautiful animal. People again give these animals a really bad rap, but they're important and they're beautiful. And even if they do freak you out, that's okay. Just because something's scary or something's ugly. I mean, same thing with the possums. They're not the cutest animals out there, but it doesn't mean that they're not important and that they don't deserve our respect or our protection.
100%. You were talking about myths and things of that nature earlier and saying that a majority of the snakes are not pose a danger to humans. Is there another myth I remember as a kid is like, oh, that one has this marking on its head, or you look for that. Is that really specific to types of snakes, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, you hear general
like certain colors.
Yeah, general things like if it's got a triangular head, it's venomous. There's no foolproof rule that for which there's not an exception. In North America, most of our venomous snakes do have that very triangular shaped head. And there is the coral snake, though, that doesn't. Yeah. So it's not 100% foolproof. What I always tell people is if you're going to be going hiking or camping or living out in a rural area, it's very simple to do a little bit of research. The internet can be your friend. It's not even like you have to go to the library like in the old days. Just look up, like, what are the snakes in my area? Yeah. An ounce of knowledge goes a really long way. I mean, if you can identify what the potentially venomous snakes are in your area, then you'll know what to look for. And if you see a non-venomous one, well, then you know that you don't have to grab the shovel and bash it over the head, which unfortunately is what people do. And so many harmless and really beneficial snakes get killed every year because people do that.
They do that.
So, all right, why don't we go on to our next animal?
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
there we go. That's
all right.
Gorgeous.
This little one.
Absolutely gorgeous animal. Oh, goodness.
All right, let's.
Gonna be okay?
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to sit back and let this little guy hang. Do you know what it is?
That's a baby porcupine. Is what that is.
It's a baby African crested porcupine. And you can see, even as babies, they're equipped with a whole bunch of quills on the back.
They're going up.
Yeah, they're not quite, really, really sharp yet, so we're okay. But
your word for it, David.
But when this animal gets to be an adult, and these get fairly large, they, porcupines are some of the largest rodent species that we have, and this animal can get to be 40, 50, 60 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, so when it's full grown. And so those quills, this species of porcupine has the longest quills. They can be, over a foot or longer.
Get out of here.
And, we're dispelling myths. So the big myth about porcupines is that they can flick their, or shoot their quills out.
Launch them.
Yeah, and that's actually not true.
Okay.
What they do is, you can see how they kind of point backwards, right? So if a predator, in the case of this guy in the wild, it would be something like a leopard or a lion, or hyena comes for them. What it's going to do is twist around backwards and kind of swing its tail. And
he's making a rattling noise.
Yeah, he's kind of stimulated here. He's like, what's going on?
Okay.
I
thought you were about to say, that means he's poised for attack.
No. No, don't nibble my finger. They're rodents, so they have really big rodent teeth.
Yeah, I know.
So
he's kind of cute.
Yeah, he's adorable, right? If you look at his face, kind of looks like a guinea pig almost.
Yeah.
Which is also a rodent. But yeah, so what they do is they turn around and
you guys hear that?
They will, swing their back end, and that has given people this impression that they're trying to flick their quills, but they can't do that. And but it's an effective way. I mean, this is an animal that, in theory, could kill a lion, not because it's going to bite it or maul it or anything like that, but if a lion, a foolish lion, comes after one of these guys and gets a mouthful of quills. Well,
done.
Yeah, I mean, it can't eat after that.
Can't eat.
Yeah, and it's not like an animal like a lion has a hand to pluck the quills out.
Right.
So, if you're an African predator, you have to be really careful if you're going to try to take on one of these. Now, certainly some animals are able to get around the quills or flip them over to their soft underside and get a meal. But for the most part, it's a pretty good defense. And there's porcupine species all around the world. Again, this is the African species. There's also a population in Italy, the only porcupine species found in Europe. Here in North America, we have the North American porcupine.
Yeah.
And they look kind of similar, but their quills aren't quite as long, and they're a lot more arboreal. This is a species that lives on the ground, and they dig burrows.
Got it.
Our North American porcupine, he's chewing on my button. They like to hang out in the trees, but these guys are herbivores. They're eating plant material, and yeah, they're cute, right?
They're super cute. I read somewhere that you could identify the Italian ones because they talk with their hands. I want to turn. Thank you. I want to turn it over. Is that our last little buddy before we?
Yeah, this
that's
is
the
our
main
last
event,
little buddy.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, those are up. We're good though.
I'll hang on to him for a second.
You got him for a
Yeah.
second? I see a couple of microphones out there right in the front row. So let's start with some of our questions really quick before we wrap things up. Yeah, go for it. Stand. I was waiting for the camera to not be over your head. Go for it.
Thank you for bringing the animals.
Yeah.
You do a lot of these appearances, obviously, and what's a really embarrassing incident you've had with an animal?
Oh gosh, an embarrassing one. Probably. I get peed and pooped on all the time. So there's not one specific incident where that has happened, but I always joke and say it's not a good segment until somebody goes to the bathroom on me. Because especially with little guys like this. In fact, I'm kind of surprised with all these babies that somebody hasn't gone on me. But animals, they're wild animals. They're not house trained like pets, and so when nature calls, they usually just go. And so,
Answer.
yeah.
It's great. I think, and we've had that happen a couple of times because you've been here so often. Yeah, just it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to get pooped on.
Right.
All right, we got more microphones in the room. Next question's right here.
Hi.
Hi.
Out of curiosity, do you have any pets at home of your own? And is it ever at all remotely possible for them to like interact, maybe with like a barrier between them, but like with these guys?
Well, yes, I do have pets. I think that will come as no surprise to anyone. I have regular old pets. I've got a dog and a cat. I've got a little goldfish pond in my backyard habitat. And actually, I take it back a little bit. I do have some aquatic salamanders called axolotls. And so I don't, other than the dog and the cat, the animals don't interact because it would be kind of dangerous for them to do that. And so, so keeping wildlife separate from pets, there are instances where domesticated animals can be companion animals for wildlife, in captive situations. You do see that sometimes, and the famous example is dogs that are used with cheetahs in captivity.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a flip side of what happens in Africa, where you have dogs like Anatolian shepherds, which help keep farmers' livestock safe from cheetahs. Well, in captivity, the same breed and other breeds are oftentimes paired with young cheetahs, and the cheetahs kind of are relaxed by the dogs. It makes sense, right? A big cuddly dog, because the cheetahs are a little bit more skittish. So, but for the most part, wildlife and pets don't mix, and we should try to keep them separate.
Great question. I believe we have time for one more. It looks like all the way in the back on our red couch.
Hi. So you'd mentioned briefly earlier about how lawns are a big, kind of detrimental to wildlife. So I'm curious, since America has such a big lawn culture, what do you think is the way to combat something like that?
Well, you'll have to have me back to answer that question.
Yeah,
because
that's a full episode, isn't it?
It's a big topic. My belief and what the National Wildlife Federation tries to do is kind of meet people where they are. Like, I'm never going to convince, your next door neighbor who's out there with the pristine lawn and tons of chemicals and watering it, that they should just not have a lawn, right?
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, we wouldn't have lawns. It would be much better for the planet and for wildlife. But so we try to meet people where they are. What I always do is try to encourage people to make a goal, make every spring to add like a new garden bed and plant some native wildflowers. And, again, we're not going to get rid of every piece of lawn, but at least maybe we'll start to minimize it. And when people start planting these beautiful flowers, and then the hummingbirds and the bees and the butterflies start showing up and the birds, it can be a really powerful, much more powerful way than me preaching at them, way of convincing them, oh yeah, maybe I do want to get rid of a little bit of my lawn. There's all sorts of stats that you can find out there about, we have more, lawn is the single biggest crop in North America. There's more land planted in lawn than any other crop that humans plant. Horrible statistics about runoff and how lawns are really contributing to the degradation of our waterways in this country. Not to mention, just like all the pesticides that get poured on them. Again, the strategy is, as I was saying earlier, trying to meet people in a positive way where they are and give them positive motivation on doing the right thing, than just preaching at them and throwing a bunch of stats and statistics at them. We have to do both of those things, but that's what the Garden for Wildlife program is all about. It's trying to teach people fun, easy ways that they can make a difference for wildlife. And when they see the result of it, like that's way more powerful. I think he's ready. Yeah. Way more powerful. Thanks, Jamie. Yeah. It's way more powerful than again getting on a soapbox. So. But yeah, if you want more information on that, and anybody else out there, Garden for Wildlife, it's on the National Wildlife Federation website, which is nwf.org. And if you just do /garden, you can get tons more info.
Awesome. That's a great question. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. Dave, before you get out of here, when you were here last, we talked about bees, and we had like the bee houses. As we entered the fall season, you mentioned a lot of great springtime things. Are there some great fall time things that we can do to help contribute, to help conserve?
Well, two things. One is fall is actually the best time to plant trees and shrubs and perennials. Okay. So if you want to get into the wildlife garden thing for you help the birds and the butterflies and the bees, now's a great time to be planting. And the other big tip that I can give, and it's actually related to the lawn question, is don't rake up your leaves. Leaves are habitat. Leaves are natural fertilizer. Right? Think about it. We rake up all the leaves and we throw them away, and then we go to the store and we buy mulch and we buy fertilizer, right?
Yeah.
Mother Nature just gave you that, right? So you don't have to leave them where they lie. You can rake them into your garden beds. You can use a mulching mower and chop them up. But just don't put them in the landfill.
Yeah.
If they go to the landfill, they break down. They release methane, which is one of our worst greenhouse gases. So don't do that. Compost them. If you have a municipal program that will pick them up and compost them, and then give that back to you as a fertilizer and a mulch, you can do that. But there's a lot of animals that rely on the leaf layer for habitat, and including some butterflies that overwinter in that leaf layer as pupa. Right?
No way.
Yeah, chipmunks, salamanders, frogs, and toads, they all rely on the leaf layer. Wow. So if you can keep some of those leaves on the ground this fall, you'll be doing the wildlife a big favor.
Those are fantastic tips. That was awesome. Everybody, I know we're super hyped after that, but I'm going to remind you, as we do applaud to thank David, keep it at an appropriate volume so we don't frighten our little friends. But nwf.org, I can't wait till you come back again. It is always so awesome when you come and hang out with us. David Mizejewski, everybody, please make a great golf claps. Golf
Thanks,
claps.
guys.
Thank you so much.